So, Joe, we have so much going on at LifeStarr right now. I feel like we're moving a mile a minute. And I thought it'd be fun to take a step back. A lot of people do this around the new year. We did not. But to kind of peel back the curtain on what happens in LifeStarr, we've gotten a lot of questions on how the business runs, how we're set up, how we make money, our wins, all that stuff. And so I figure we can address some of those questions today. So
Sure.
One of the questions we get is, well, you guys are all working on this LifeStarr product, LifeStarr Central, LifeStarr Intro, all these things, but you're a team. So isn't that kind of against what you talk about when it comes to solopreneurship? To which we say, Joe, do you want to answer that?
I say nay, nay. It's what we really recommend finding people to work with. Carly, you're a fractional CMO. You are your own boss. You make your own schedule, and you basically, charge us by the hour for what you do. And I have other people like George B. Thomas with the same kind of relationship. And I lease employees from other companies when I need them. So it's really a function of saying, do I have employees? Because it seems like it's not really a big distinction, contractor and employee, but really it is. Because number one, when you have an employee, you have a lot of responsibilities for that employee. There's a lot of government regulations about how you treat them and what you give them. You have to give them the opportunity to get health insurance typically, and lots of other things. And when you have a contractor, that doesn't fall on you. That falls on the contractor to themselves. By the same token, if you have a contractor, you can't tell them, I want you working from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Because if you do that, they can then say, well, no, I was an employee. They can basically sue you. And I've seen this happen, sue you and win back some of the money they paid because they were paying self-employment tax. So you can really lose big time if you try to use contractors and treat them like employees. So it's a distinction, and it changes how you run the business. It changes it in some ways that make it easier, in some ways it makes it harder. But it's just a distinction that needs to be respected.
And in terms of peeling back the curtain, and Joe, you practice what you preach. You are so good about respecting people as contractors, because I have fallen into a situation before where it wasn't the case. But we wanted to prove that you can run a business like this and we're all independent. And so I wanted to clarify that. But some of the downsides with that I feel like we should talk about, like we have a huge launch coming up soon that we'll tease very shortly. But we've had vacations for contractors to work with. I've had things come up that we've had to work with. You kind of, because you can't say you need to be in the office by 8:30, blah, blah, and all of that. There are some downsides that I would say businesses with employees have from a control standpoint. Would you agree with that?
Well, you're saying downsides that companies have?
Running a business like this. Like we would have loved to launch everything maybe a little bit earlier, maybe not. But we have to deal with other people's schedules because you can't control our schedules. So things get pushed out.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, you are at somewhat of a disadvantage in that respect. Yeah. You don't have as much control. I mean, just as an example, you a few years ago, we've been working together for a while now, you had a baby and you're like, well, I'm taking this amount of time off. There was no company policy about what maternity leave looked like, right? And there was no company policy about how much you get paid on maternity leave. It was a different kind of relationship. And I wasn't going to sit here and tell you, oh no, I need you back in 3 weeks. It's like you made your rules,
right?
Which is cool. But it's, again, from the perspective of running a business, it can be more challenging, less predictable. Because, one person says, I need to take 2 weeks off or something. Another one says, I need a month and a half. And you wind up, not really being able to predict exactly how things are going to affect you. So, and I've been in both sides of it. I've had the company with employees and, the company policies and the employee handbook and all that stuff. I mean, they're both great. They're both great and they can both be really challenging. But solopreneurship is an exciting way to go because of that freedom that it gives you to design the business around your life instead of kind of designing the business around the business, what it needs.
Well, and so all this to say, if you are trying to plan a business, we cannot stress enough, or run a business to work with others. Like there's no harm in that. You'll have a few downsides, but in the long run, it all works out for the best.
And just a teaser, we're building very soon. If you're listening to this in early February, which you probably aren't by the time it gets produced, but it will be able to find those other people to work with really easily with LifeStarr. So, and kind of one of the things we've been doing. So go ahead. And next question.
But tune into future episodes to see what that is. So another question we get, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the whole contractor thing too, is how do you get paid? How is LifeStarr currently making money?
Oh, I knew there was something I forgot. Okay. Well, let me give a little backstory. So I started as a solopreneur developing retail real estate, basically creating shopping centers. And the process there was to find land and then to get permits to put a shopping center on that particular piece of land, and then find tenants or retailers that wanted to be on that piece of land in that shopping center. And one of the really interesting things was I went through that process. It was long, and it's a challenging thing to do. And then we started construction, and I remember thinking, nothing's happening, right? It had those pieces of equipment moving around, and day after day, there was nothing but dirt. And I said, this is weird. And then all of a sudden, boom, everything went up, and it seemed like very quickly went from being a dirt, a sand lot type of thing to being, a shopping center. And what I took from that is that you have to get the foundations in place. If you don't get the foundations for the buildings, they collapse. If you don't get the foundations built for the parking lots, you get sinkholes. You got to get the drainage system in. You got to do all this stuff you don't really see, but you benefit from in the end. And with LifeStarr, it's been a combination of building out the foundation. I mean, 160 plus episodes of this podcast, blogs, many, many events, and talking to experts and bringing people together and listening to solopreneurs to really, really understand what's needed. And that gave us the ability to have that foundation to say, this is what we need to build. Now, I will say there was also a false start. I don't know if it's a false start, but a detour. We were originally building an app for task management, and we pivoted over to this, building basically what we call LifeStarr Central, which is a place for people to come together. And there's a free tier. So yeah, we're not making money there either, but we have a few paid tiers. And the hope is that the people will see the value in the free tier, but also some of them, not all, but some of them will see the value in that paid tier and the additional things that you get, and then want to step up and pay. And that's, to me, a really great model because if you can figure out how to bring enough value for the right price, then you should have a successful business. And we have been doing that. And we think we've at least got the beginnings of that ready to go in the next months.
Yeah. Woo! So Joe, just looking back this year, we've had, I would say our biggest wins is like really developing relationships with that audience that you're talking about, that foundational audience. I feel like we really know who our people are through and through and know how to address them. I feel like our messaging has been buttoned up. Like you said, we've gone up and down, left and right to figure it out. And now it's clear. And you need to do some trial and error for that. We know what we're pitching. We know who we're selling to. And it's just kind of a nice weight, like not a weight lifted off our shoulders, because we still have some pretty heavy lifting to do. But just the clarity is so
you feel like you see the path forward.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I just wanted to have this episode to peel the curtain back, like I said earlier, kind of let you know, like we practice what we preach. We know it's not a linear journey. There are ups and downs, and just let you know that we're all in this together.
Well, there's one other thing we should mention about kind of figuring out the path for the solopreneurs that we think are really doing it for the right reason. And that is that we decided, you and I signed a deal with Wiley to write Solopreneur Business for Dummies, which I just today, I don't know if you saw, got the final cover.
Yes,
So
that's so exciting.
yeah, I put that on LinkedIn. That was my LinkedIn post for today, was the cover. So it's exciting stuff. But that process of figuring that out wasn't going to happen overnight, because there's a lot of people out there. The world is changing, and you really need to figure out how to serve your customers, the people you want to serve. And we took longer than a typical solopreneur would, but I had sold a business. I had some time to figure it out, and I'm trying to do something a little bigger than a typical solopreneur. And I'll be honest, Carly, I don't know that LifeStarr is going to be a solopreneur business forever. I hope that if we get enough people that we're helping, that I will need to bring on employees, because that's the only way. If there are thousands of people that we're helping, I'm probably not going to do that from just my spare bedroom working with contractors. So, and that's a path that some solopreneurs take. But my driving force is figuring out how to help people build businesses that serve their lives, and I'll take any twist or turn it takes to get there.
Love it. Well, like Joe said, we have a book coming out later this year. We'll have September. We'll have links to pre-sales soon. We'll have links to our waitlist for LifeStarr Central that we've been talking about. So be sure to continue tuning into this podcast. And we just so appreciate you tuning in today. As always, leave that 5-star review, subscribe on your favorite platform, and we will see you next time on The Aspiring Solopreneur.